There are 6 trigonometric functions. We will begin our study of these functions as they relate to the acute angles of a right triangle. The trigonometric functions are simply the ratios of the sides of the triangle. Since there are 3 sides and a ratio requires 2 of them at a time, there are 6 different trigonometric functions. As we've already stated, the input of a trigonometric function is an angle. So we need to understand how the sides of a triangle relate to the angle that is the input. We will focus on the acute angles of the right triangle. Consider the angle alpha as shown in the right triangle on the screen. We know that the side that is opposite the right angle is called the hypotenuse. The side directly across from angle alpha is called the opposite side because it is opposite angle alpha. Angle alpha is formed by 2 sides, the hypotenuse and the leg that is next to alpha. We call the leg that is next to alpha the adjacent side. The labels opposite and adjacent are relative to the specific acute angle of the right triangle. Let's consider the same triangle, but consider the other angle. We'll call it beta. For angle beta, the opposite side is here, and the adjacent side is here. We label the sides as opposite or adjacent as it relates to the specific angle that we are discussing. Now we are ready to define the 6 trigonometric functions. Recall again that the input of a trig function is the angle and the output is a real number. The 6 functions are sine of theta, cosine of theta, tangent of theta, cosecant of theta, secant of theta, and cotangent of theta. Recall that the trigonometric functions are just the ratios of the sides of a right triangle. All right, so we're ready to define those pairs of ratios, okay? So sine of theta is the ratio of the opposite over the hypotenuse, and cosine of theta is adjacent over hypotenuse. Tangent of theta is opposite over the adjacent. Cosecant of theta is hypotenuse over opposite. Secant of theta is hypotenuse over adjacent. And cotangent of theta is adjacent over opposite. Here are the 6 trigonometric functions. It is very important that we know their definitions and be able to apply them. Now let's try to apply these definitions in an example. We need to find the trig function values for angle theta in the given triangle. First, we should mentally identify the sides of the triangle as hypotenuse, opposite, and adjacent for angle theta. We should also note the value of each side. Using the definitions of the functions, we will then find the function values. We know that sine of theta is equal to opposite over hypotenuse, or in this case, 4 over 5. Cosine of theta is equal to adjacent over hypotenuse, or 3/5. Tangent of theta is equal to opposite over adjacent, or 4/3. Cosecant of theta is equal to hypotenuse over opposite, or 5/4. Secant of theta is equal to hypotenuse over adjacent, or 5/3. And cotangent of theta is equal to adjacent over opposite, or 3/4.